What kind of action are you taking? Now, this portion of it is what keeps a lot of contractors stuck in their business. Hey, welcome back to the show. This week, we're going back to an old school solo cast. I want to talk to you about a formula that I've been working on for quite some time to try and figure out what it takes to create the kind of freedom that you want in your business. And so based on working with hundreds of contractors, trying to figure out what's stopping them, what do they have that helps them, the characteristics, all of those things that go into being able to have a successful business, which ultimately leads to what we call the freedom formula, right? Having freedom and choice, freedom, financial freedom, time freedom, those types of things is what I've put together to basically create what I call the freedom formula. Okay. And I'm going to break it down on this podcast. We'll talk about how it affects you, why these things are important, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So the freedom formula, what is it? Okay. It is a simple formula to try to unlock what it takes to be successful. So let me just read this, and then, hopefully you can understand what I'm saying. I can post it. I'll be posting this on social, video, like you can actually see what it looks like. So there's three elements that go into the creation element. So there's a positive element and there's a negative element. The positive elements, there's three elements. There's three parts that go into the positive side of it. Number one is desire. Now, most people are not lacking in the desire aspect. A lot of people that start their own business have plenty of desire. Like even if you don't own a business, you work somewhere, you have desire. Lots of us have desire. There's really no shortage of desire anywhere. Now, there's different levels of desire, right? And a lot of times that is determined by multitude of things like childhood trauma. A lot of people become super successful because they have childhood trauma and they use that as fuel to try and essentially like prove those people wrong. Maybe you had a father figure or an authority figure that said, you're worthless, you're never going to amount to anything. And so the desire aspect is the big F you to you, I'm going to prove you wrong. And so you just work your ass off for a long period of time because you're trying to prove that person wrong. So sometimes negative things that happen to us can be a driver. And then there's other aspects of you're just naturally, have a desire to do things. Like you're born with certain beliefs or just things that you want to do. Maybe you have a high desire in certain aspects of your life and you have a low desire in others. There's no right or wrong answer here. It's just that is what it is. So desire is simply, do I want to do this? And how bad do I want to do it? So it's a scale. I will tell you, like on this formula, there's really no mathematical, equation to it. It's basically just there to put into perspective how these things affect your success, your rate of success, or your freedom formula, right? The rate of freedom. So desire is a sliding scale. Do you have enormous desire? Do you have a little bit of desire? If you're like, I think it might be nice to own a business, you're probably going to struggle and fail. You have to have a strong desire. One way or another, you have to have a strong desire. So the desire is the first part of this formula. The second part of the formula is knowledge. You have to have some type of knowledge about something. Like if you're going to start a business, let's say you're going to be a carpenter, you have to have some knowledge of carpentry. Now, is it possible to start a business and have no experience as a carpenter? Yeah, that's possible if you're going to hire carpenters to do the work for you. But for a lot of the listeners and a lot of the contractors that I work with, that's simply not the case. Most of them are craftsmen first. They transition into a business owner. And so this is the natural progression for them. It's not that they don't know how to do things like the actual craft. It's that they lack on some of the business aspect of it. So if we take the people that are going to like start a business that have no experience out of the equation, we're just now talking about people that, have the experience in the trade or the craft, and now they're trying to grow that business. So the knowledge aspect is, well, just like with the craft, you have to know how to do stuff. If you're going to be a carpenter, you have to know how to use a tape measure, right? You have to know how to use a hammer. You have to know how to use saws. You have to know how to put things together. You have to know how to read blueprints, potentially, depending on what you're doing. Like, there's a certain level of knowledge that you have to have. And in business, if we flip the other side of the equation to the business side of it, not the craft side of it, the business side of it, there's all kinds of knowledge you have to have. Marketing, sales, hiring, leadership, financials. There's a whole slew of things that you have to learn in order to have a business and be successful. Again, knowledge is a sliding scale. Now, knowledge is one area that it's really never complete, right? There's an old video. This is many years ago, but there was a video. I thought it was funny. There was a guy's on the internet, like his wife's in the background watching TV, and this guy's on his computer. The room's dark, and he's clicking, click. He's clicking through a lot of stuff, and then the screen pops up, and it's like, you have finished, or you're at the end or something. And the guy sits back in his chair, and he's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. His wife's like, what happened? I just finished it. I just clicked on everything on the internet. Like, I just finished seeing everything on the internet. And it's just this funny idea of like the thought that you're going to actually, consume all of the information out there. You're never going to consume all the information in your lifetime. It's just not possible. And even just in business, like if you just focused on sales and you consumed a piece of content every day on sales over the course of your lifetime, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, you will not consume all of the information that exists on sales. It's just impossible. But this idea of learning and having a certain base level of knowledge has to exist. If you've never sold anything in your life, you have to have some sort of knowledge about sales. Like you have to have a transaction. You have to actually offer something. They have to agree to it. You have to take payment, right? Have a contract, take payment, all that stuff. Like there's a certain level of basic knowledge you have to have. And then it gets more and more advanced. So the knowledge aspect of it is, how much do you know? Okay. So you can have a high desire with no knowledge. Well, what does that get you? It may not get you a lot because, if you have no knowledge, you don't know what to do. You get stuck in like analysis paralysis. This is a lot of people get stuck here. I want to do this but I don't have any knowledge. So let me go out and consume all the knowledge that I can find. That way, when I start, I'm not going to make a mistake. And those people get stuck in the analysis paralysis stage. I did this many, 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 many years ago when I was kind of trying to get into real estate. This was like, 15 plus years ago, maybe more. Before I started my own business, I was trying to get into real estate and specifically like wholesaling because it was, low barrier to entry. You didn't have to have a lot of money available. And so I was researching like wholesaling and how to do that. And I joined this program, this group for real estate investors and blah, 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 blah. And really just spent like months and months and months, probably close to a year of like researching, because at that time I thought I needed more knowledge so that I wouldn't make any mistakes. And so I never really fully launched that. I did try to do a couple wholesale deals that ended up not coming to fruition, but I still learned through that experience. But prior to that, I was stuck in analysis paralysis for a long period of time because I thought the more I knew, the less chance I had of failing, right? This is the analysis paralysis. I just need more information, one more piece of information, and then I'll be set. So some of you with high desire and no knowledge, you'll go to the knowledge portion and think it's going to help you out. It's not really going to help you out. The third aspect of this is action. So we have desire is number 1, knowledge is number 2, action is number 3. What kind of action are you taking? Now, this portion of it is what keeps a lot of contractors stuck in their business because they're really not taking enough action. I love Alex Hormozi's take on this. And the dollar amount doesn't really matter. But he says, if you're under $1 million in revenue, you should be spending about 4 hours every single day on marketing your business because enough people don't know you exist. And while I'm not saying you have to spend 4 hours a day, and I'm not saying it has to be $1 million, it could be 200,000 and you got to spend an hour a day. The point is 99.9% of us, myself included, even in my own coaching business, we don't spend enough time taking action. We're hoping the magic formula, the magic pill is going to save everything in our business. We're hoping that we land that one big client. We're used to doing $50,000 jobs. We land the $200,000 job, and that's going to fix everything. It's going to fix all our financial problems. It's going to fix all of our lead flow because I'll be on this job for 6 months and everything's going to be great. In reality, those big jobs usually are what put people out of business. But even if you had good profit margins on there, you land that one big job, and then now what? You don't get any more big jobs for another year or two because you don't know and you're not taking enough action to replicate that, that success. So action is the secret part of this. Like it has the highest return or the highest effective rate of this formula. You can have, average desire, you can have average knowledge, but if you take massive action, if you go all in on action, you can still be successful. You can still be very successful. In the military, they have a term. It says a poor plan executed violently, meaning with, enormous amount of violence and action, is better than a perfect plan executed poorly. And this applies to business. I could have the perfect business plan of how everything is going to work in my business, my marketing, my financial outlook, and blah, 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 blah. But if I don't actually take action, if I don't do marketing, if I don't talk to people, if I don't go out in the world and, put effort into it, that perfect business plan sitting on the shelf is not going to make me money. Conversely, I can just get out a napkin at the restaurant and say, start a construction business, specialize in bathrooms. And that's my business plan. I don't have any other information, but I go out there and just hit the streets and just go as hard as I can. Just balls to the wall, 24/7, trying to drum up business, go as hard as I can. You will have success doing that, right? So action is the one piece that a lot of contractors leave out. So if you have mediocre action, you can still have success. It just lengthens the timeline it takes you to get there. So if you're, again, this is all subjective. It's all sliding scale. There is no perfect mathematical formula for this. But if you're taking, say, moderate action, let's just put it in some kind of measurable format. Let's say you spend an hour a day reaching out to strategic partners. One of the things I have my clients do all the time when they're trying to drum up business is you have to network. Like networking is an important part of your business. It's who you know, not what you know. And so that the networking takes a long time to develop. I mean, I can develop a relationship with a realtor. I may not see results of that for 6 months. I may not get a lead from them for 6 months. And it may take me 6 months of, several lunches and texts and phone calls and stuff to get to that trust level for them to start giving me, business. Once I've reached that, then they give me business consistently. But it can be a slow, methodical process to develop that. But let's just say you're trying to develop strategic partnerships with realtors, home inspectors, financial people, like other people that are going to send you referrals. I'd say, look, you guys, you got to start cold calling. Like just pick up the phone and start cold calling these people and just ask them and, just call them and say, hey, my name is Brad. I own a construction company. You're a realtor. Didn't know if it made sense for us to have a conversation, see if there's any way we can help each other out. They're either going to say, no, I don't want to talk to you, or yeah, I'm interested in exploring that further. It's pretty simple. I'm not going to get into the whole fear base of that, but that's the process, right? You make some phone calls, you set up some appointments, you develop the relationship. So I tell the guys, hey, you need to make a lot of calls. A lot. So contractor A says, okay, I hear you, Brad. He makes 5 calls a day. Let's say he has an hour available. He makes 5 calls a day and he talks to one person and sets an appointment. That's good. And let's say on average, he does that every day for 5 days. So he makes 25 calls in a week. He talks to one person each day and makes an appointment. So he's got 5 appointments that week. Not bad. He's having success. Contractor B says, I don't have a lot of work. I have more time and I have a high desire and I want to take action. I'm going to make 50 calls a day. And he lands 5 appointments a day. So 250 calls in a week. 5, he makes 25 appointments in that same week. Contractor A gets 5 appointments. Contractor B gets 25 appointments. You tell me which one is going to have a higher chance of success based on the amount of output, the amount of action that they took in their business. You tell me, I'll wait. I'm going to take a sip while you tell me. If you're driving down the road listening to this, you should be yelling it out loud, and people next to you are like, what's this guy doing? He's talking to himself. It's pretty obvious. The person who's making 50 calls a day, landing 5 a day, is going to have massive output success. Now, what about the contractor C? He's calling 100 people a day and he's landing 10 appointments or 20 appointments, whatever that is. Who is going to have the highest chance of success out of the 3? 5 appointments a week, 25 appointments a week, or 50 appointments a week? Now, obviously you can't Probably going to be hard to meet with 50 people, but I'm just using it as an illustration of which one's going to have the most success. The one that has the most at-bats, the ones that has the most opportunity. And the way you open up opportunity is through massive action. So if you want massive results, you have to take massive action. If you don't want massive results and you want mediocre results, then take mediocre action. If you want low results so you can complain, then take hardly any action and you'll get no results. Then you can sit around and complain. And you can blame the economy. You can blame other competitors that are cheaper than you. You can blame the fact that you can't find good help and blah, 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 blah. Because that's the next part of this. And that's where that comes from. So the left part of the equation, in parentheses, we have desire plus knowledge plus action. Okay? That's like the positive side. We're building up the positive side of the formula. So what's on the right side of the formula? This is the negative side. So desire plus knowledge plus action minus limiting beliefs. This is the negative side of the formula. If you have great desire, lots of knowledge, you take lots of action, but you have a lot of limiting beliefs, it's going to reduce the effectiveness of the output. So if I take a lot of sales calls, right? Like I'm getting leads and I'm doing a lot of sales calls, but my limiting belief is people don't want to pay that much money, or I can't charge more because there's other competitors that are cheaper than me. If you have that limiting belief, it's going to significantly reduce the effectiveness of the action you're taking and the desire and knowledge you have. You understand how this works? So desire plus knowledge plus action, positive, minus limiting beliefs. However many limiting beliefs you have is going to reduce the overall effectiveness of the formula. Hey, just a quick time out from the show. If you're a frustrated contractor who's dealing with low profit margins, stuck working on the tools every day, or doing free estimates for people who are never going to hire you in the first place, I invite you to my private contractor community, the Profit Club, where contractors just like you are adding 2 to 3 times more profit each year without producing any more jobs and finally getting completely off the tools to never do another free estimate again. So if you're ready to increase your profits, stop doing free estimates and get off the tools, then all you have to do is click the link in the show notes to learn more about the Profit Club and see how it can easily 2 to 3 times the cash in your pocket, give you a proven sales process that will convert more jobs with ease and get you off the tools once and for all. And the best part is you can do all of this without having to produce more jobs than you currently are. Click the link to learn more. Now let's get back to the show. So if you have no limiting beliefs at all, you were raised by a super positive family who's encouraging and basically gave you all the tools you needed, and you have lots of desire and you have knowledge and action, you're basically unstoppable because the limiting beliefs are not going to reduce the effectiveness of the output. But for a lot of contractors, and I mean a lot, most that I talk to, most people that get coaching from me have limiting beliefs that are holding them back. And the limiting beliefs are very outweighed. So, if you're, again, there's no way of measuring this, but like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most action you can take, 1 being the least action you can take. Like limiting beliefs is on a scale of like 1 to 100. The other ones are 1 to 10. Limiting beliefs are 1 to 100. So you could have a positive score of say 30, but if you have limiting beliefs of say 50, you're in the hole. You see what I'm saying? Like you're in the negative. And so you have to make sure these limiting beliefs are not what's holding you back. And the reason why they're called limiting beliefs is because they're beliefs that you have that are limiting your ability to be successful. When I tell people all the time they have a limiting belief, they think it's an insult. It's not an insult, guys. It's a fact. You have a belief that is limiting your ability to do something in your life. If you've had bad relationships, you've been divorced 3 times, you can have a limiting belief that women are bad, or that men are bad, or that all they care about is this, or all they care about is that. You can develop a limiting belief that keeps you from finding the perfect partner. If you think that, all females are gold diggers and all they care about is going after money, you've developed a limiting belief. And then your RAS, your reticular activating system, the Google of your brain says, okay, Whenever we meet a new woman, let's go look for evidence that this person is a gold digger. And I find one tiny little shroud of evidence. Oh, see, there it is right there. See, she has a Coach purse. And all the women that we dated that had Coach purses were all gold diggers. So she's out. Well, I mean, stop thinking about that for a second. That's absolutely ridiculous. That is a stupid belief to have. It's not true because, women have a Coach purse. No, I mean, maybe you had 3 experiences with women with Coach purses, but that was the only 3 out of 100 that you could have picked, that have Coach purses. I know this is a silly example, but it's very easy for our minds to develop these limiting beliefs that we're not even aware of that are keeping us stuck at all areas of our life, not just business, personal life. Okay. All these areas are keeping us stuck. So the limiting beliefs have an exponential power over us. And so you have to remove these limiting beliefs. You have to be able to identify what they are. One of the powers of the community for contractors, specifically in the Profit Club, is that as they come in and we work through these limiting beliefs, and by the way, this is one of the most rewarding things that I get to experience when I work with clients, is seeing their beliefs change. It's literally seeing their lives change before my own eyes and seeing them go from, having a very strong belief that's limiting to the opposite, to where no longer that belief is holding them stuck, but now it's empowering them to achieve more. That is very satisfying. It's very rewarding as a business coach to see people go through that transition. And as they do this, now because they've been there, because they have awareness of what it was like on the other side, when a new contractor comes into the community and they start using certain phrases, they start saying certain things, it's plain as day to people that were there before to say, dude, you have a limiting belief. That's not true. I used to think this. This is what I did. This is what happens. And so now through the power of community, you basically have to change. Or if you don't, you might as well just not even join or quit. But you have to, because you're surrounded by people who have either been there before and have transitioned to the other side, or never had that belief and they grew up with a different mindset or had different opportunities. And they can say, why would you ever think that way? That's dumb. That's not true. And so now you are in a room of winners in that sense, to where they can slowly erode that belief. Because before, you're on an island by yourself and you believe this to be true for you. And you believe that if it's true for me, it must be true for everyone. But the reality of it is that it's your truth. It's not the truth in the world. And so you believe these things and you go talk to another contractor who's also believing the same way. And you go to the bars in the evening, you hang out and you do your Wednesday evening, bar with the boys, and you sit around and you complain about your business and you complain about customers and you complain about employees and you all complain. And then all you're doing is reinforcing that limiting belief because you're all talking about it. Well, yeah, John over here, he's been in business for 20 years and he still complains about employees. And Phil over here, he's been in business for 15 years and he just always complained about customers. That must be true. It's true for these 3 people that I know. It must be true for everyone. And, it's like, no, dude, you're in the wrong room. Look where you're at right now. Like physically look where you're at. You're in a bar that's known to it's a place you go to sulk and, try to drown your misery. Of course. It's like, if you're a drug addict, you don't go to a heroin house and hang out there and I don't want to do heroin. I don't want to get caught up. Then you stay away from there, right? You go to rehab, you get better. You join groups that help you. You join AA or whatever. Like that's the same thing. You have to remove those limiting beliefs from your mind. And everyone has them. Everybody has limiting beliefs in some way or some fashion. Like some people have a very little bit of, they may have a limiting belief of like, it's really hard to find good help, but they don't like hang their hat on that. They don't like believe that it's impossible. They just maybe believe it's slightly difficult to find good help. The next person over here who's hiring people like crazy, has a great team, great staff, great culture, is killing it. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like I've never had problems hiring. It's actually been pretty easy for me. And so like there's different levels of that belief, right? And so that's another beauty of the community, is because everyone has different upbringings, backgrounds, knowledge base, experiences. If someone is really good at hiring and they're in the group, they can share like, hey, this is what we've done. It's worked really well. One thing that, has seemed to work really well for a lot of my clients recently is creating video content and then advertising that as a hiring campaign. So basically it's just a marketing campaign, but marketing towards hiring people. And you create this culture. And what happens is people that are working for someone else, they're on social media. They see a video of you and you guys are having fun. Maybe you're going to a picnic or whatever. And they see it online like, man, my boss never takes us to a picnic. My boss never takes us to the Cardinals game or to the football game or takes us to play golf or whatever it is. But this other company over here, they do it all the time. I'm intrigued. I want to learn more about them. So like that's just one little thing of like removing limiting beliefs about hiring. When you go into a community like the Profit Club, you see these people in here doing these things, and now your belief is shattered. You're like, well, I thought it was really hard to hire, but I see Chris over here making videos and he's got people calling him wanting to come work for him. Like he's not even advertising for a position, but people are calling him because they see his videos for advertising. Maybe it's not as hard as I thought it was to hire people. Or I see Kyle over here who's running ads and getting people that are calling him right and left. He can't even keep up, for work. He's drowning in work. He needs to hire more people and develop better systems, but I'm having a hard time, getting people to call me. Well, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe it's not, or maybe referrals aren't just the only source. Maybe you do have to run Facebook ads, or maybe you do have to make social media content. Maybe my belief is wrong. And so slowly and surely you start eroding away these beliefs. And as you do that, the power of the desire plus knowledge plus action increases. The effect it has on your success, on the freedom formula, increases. So you have to remove these limiting beliefs. I'm telling you guys right now, you can have, average desire, average knowledge, average action. But if you have high limiting beliefs, you're going to be stuck. You will not be advancing. You will not feel like you're progressing in your business or in your life. You will always feel like you're in the negative. I used to try to explain this to my wife all the time. It's like, I can't explain it, dear, but it's like waking up in the morning, you got 8 hours of work you got to get done. And throughout the day, everything goes wrong and you only get, 2 hours of work done. And so now you have a negative 6 hours of work, and then that carries over to the next day. And so now you got 8 hours plus the negative 6, and then you only get 6 hours, and it just keeps carrying and carrying and carrying until you have this huge debt of hopelessness on your shoulders to feel like you could never get out from underneath it. You can never work your way out of it. And I know what that feels like. And it is a terrible feeling when you feel hopeless, when you feel like there's no way you're going to get out of it. You're so buried. You're so behind. You got to fix 15 things in your business and you don't know which ones to start on. That's where you go back to the knowledge aspect. When you have a business coach, when you have a community, they can tell you exactly what knowledge you need and what action you need to take to shortcut that process. That's the beauty of it. Okay. But the limiting belief side of it is huge. It has a huge impact on your success. I started a series on TikTok this week or last week. It's called Limiting Beliefs That Keep Contractors Stuck. And so, today I released 4. I'll be doing several of these because these are all true limiting beliefs. And every time, without a doubt, I know before I post, someone's going to come on there and contradict me or tell me why I'm wrong. One that I did was, you shouldn't let customers provide materials. The limiting belief is that it's easier for me if they just go pick out all the materials and all I do is provide labor. It's just easier, Brad. I don't have to deal with that. I don't have time to go do all that. That's a limiting belief, right? Because you're missing out on opportunities. Plus you're removing control and quality from the equation, which comes back to bite you in the butt. And without a doubt, I get people, that's all I ever do is labor. I would never go buy materials. That's stupid. I get customers commenting, you just want to provide materials so you can get a 30% markup. And I usually respond with, no, I don't want 30%. I actually want 100% markup because I know what it takes to run a business. It's still a limiting belief. I still get people all the time arguing with me. That's the easiest thing to know if it's a limiting belief. If someone argues, someone who's in a growth mindset If I say, hey, you have a limiting belief, you think that, no one can do it as good as you. That was another limiting belief video I released. Nobody can do it as good as you. If that's your belief, and I say, this is limiting you because of this, and you stop for a second and you say, I've never thought about it that way. It makes sense. I don't have much, evidence to say definitively that you're correct, but it does pique my interest, and I am willing to explore this further because I can see how this could limit my ability. If you have that mindset, you have a growth mindset, even if that limiting belief is true to you, if you're open-minded to learning new things, then you're already won. You've already won. But the reality of it is that most people will instantly say, no, I am the only one that can do it that good. And I'll never find anybody. So I just work for myself. That's a closed-minded individual. That person is not open to receiving feedback, AKA knowledge. They've shut down the knowledge side of the equation. They don't want any more knowledge. They know everything. And so now they've removed a very pivotal part of the positive side. They've removed the knowledge, and now they're stuck because now the limiting belief is actually blocking their ability to gain knowledge. So I hope this is if you understand this formula, and again, I'll post it somewhere online. You guys can look at it. Desire plus knowledge plus action minus limiting beliefs equals your freedom formula, right? Or equals your freedom, however you want to say it. The more you have desire, the more knowledge, the more action you take, and the least limiting beliefs you have, or eliminating limiting beliefs, you will have a much greater chance of success and ultimately the freedom you want. I didn't know where I was going to go with this. We're at 33 minutes. I think it went out pretty well. You guys tell me, what do you think about the freedom formula? What am I missing? By the way, this is a knowledge portion for me. This is just a formula I've been working on, trying to figure it out. So you give me some knowledge. You help me. Do I need to add something? Am I missing something? Do you think it's stupid? You give me some feedback. Go, whatever you're watching this on YouTube, on Spotify, anywhere you're watching this, go leave a comment and let me know, what am I missing from this formula? If this formula helped you to kind of realize this and it's been beneficial, please let me know that too. I want some feedback, and maybe we need to expand on it. Maybe I need to create some, make some posters or something that we can sell. I have no idea, but if it's helpful, let me know that. One of the things that's frustrating about doing podcasts and content, specifically in the construction industry, I don't get much feedback. You guys don't give me feedback on whether it's helpful or not. It's very helpful for me to give me feedback. I would much rather you tell me in a comment, Brad, this sucks. This is one of the worst podcasts you've ever made. I'd be like, cool, thank you. That's helpful. If you can give me a little more information, that would be more helpful. What sucked about it? Well, it sucked because you talked for 15 minutes about nothing. Get to the point sooner. I'm like, okay, thanks. That's very helpful. I won't get mad at you, I promise. If it's negative feedback you got for me, give it to me. I won't be mad at you. I just want data. So, guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me. Desire plus knowledge plus action minus limiting beliefs equals the freedom formula. If you want help with removing the limiting beliefs, if you want help with, the knowledge and the action to take, that is exactly what the Profit Club is designed to do. I'm happy to talk to you about that, share what it looks like, show you what the program looks like, the results that I've gotten a lot of contractors. It's very helpful for a lot of guys to overcome these limiting beliefs. And I'm confident I can help you as well. So reach out if you want help in that. I appreciate you hanging out with me. I got more interviews coming up, so hang out for that. And you know where to find me on the socials. Just search for the Hammer and Grind Podcast. All of them. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those places. And remember, guys, until next time, profit is not a dirty word.